Good morning. I'm Senator Chip Curry, and we'll be presiding over this work session of the Joint Standing Committee on Innovation, Development, Economic Advancement, and Business. Purpose of this meeting is for the committee to receive information from staff and others in order for members to consider the legislative proposals before them and make recommendations or reports to the legislature. Only committee members, the committee analysts, and those specifically invited to attend will be participating in this work session using Zoom. For members of the public wishing to observe, this meeting is being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel and will also be recorded for viewing after this meeting is concluded. We're also broadcasting the audio of this meeting on the legislature's website, www.legislature.maine.gov. Everyone, some Zoom reminders. I think we've gotten used to that. This is a public meeting. I must remind you all that while the meeting discussion must happen on screen and not by way of Zoom chat, you may use the chat to request any technical support that is needed. Members will speak at leave of the chair. If you're having, I mentioned the technical difficulties. Materials, for those who are following along, materials will be provided electronically and are also posted as fast as possible up on the committee's website. Look under committee materials by LD. That's probably the fastest way to see all the committee materials. When it comes time to vote, we must have a quorum present, at least 7 members, including the senator, and video screens must be on. I think that covers everything. We're familiar with the system. I'll now ask members to introduce themselves. Representative Geiger, would you kick us off?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Valley Geiger. I am the representative for District 93, Rockland and Owl's Head.
Good morning. My name is John Andrews. I represent District 73 in Western Maine, the towns of Buckfield, Hebron, and Paris. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Representative Sarah Pepworth, representing House District 133 in the Blue Hill Peninsula, which includes Blue Hill, Brooksville, Brooklyn, Castine, Sedgwick, and Surrey.
Good morning. I'm Amanda Collmore. I represent House District 106, Pittsfield, Clinton, and Detroit. And I do apologize. My internet is a little bit spotty. As soon as my library opens up, I'm going to scoot on over there so that I have a better connection.
Good morning. Been busy already. I've got 2 committees going at the same time. I've got Justice and Public Safety in today with that. Pardon me if I'm kind of like bouncing between the 2. So anyway, I'm Senator Scott Searway, who represents Waterville, Winslow, Benton, Albion, Clinton, and Fairfield and Unity Township.
Good morning. I'm Representative Jack Ducharme, representing House District 111, which includes Solon, Madison, and Norwich Walk.
Good morning, Maine. I'm Representative Sue Austin. I hail from my hometown of Gray, and I also have the great folks of Raymond, childhood home of Hawthorne, the famous author. And I have portions of Casco, home to the 5th generation Hancock lumber. And I have all of Rye Island out in Big Spada Lake.
Good morning, everyone. Reagan La Rochelle, House District 86, serving part of Augusta, where it snowed quite a bit last night, unbeknownst to any of us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Bernard. I represent Caribou, Westmanland, and New Sweden. And congratulations to anyone who noticed that I'm now showing the chickadee's mate on the other side of that tree. I know you can't really tell the difference, but it's on the other side of the tree and they look very, very similar.
Good morning. I'm Representative Tiffany Roberts, representing House District 6, which is the majority of North Berwick and South Berwick, and I'm your House Chair.
And good morning. Once again, I'm Senator Chip Curry. I'm the Senate Chair, and I represent Senate District 11, which includes the 26 rural, coastal, and island communities of Waldo County. So just to let everyone know, we're going to be addressing the bills today in reverse order. We'll be starting with LD 1978, going to LD 1977, and ending with LD 1694. So if you're following along the calendar, we're going to be going in reverse order. And so with that, I will now open up the work session on LD 1978, an act to promote home ownership by reducing education debt. And Ms. Olson, did you share? I think this has a fairly brief analysis. Would you mind sharing that?
Not at all. Good morning, everybody. I did send the materials out to you this morning, and I got them to the portal as well before we started. So this morning, I can share the screen on this one or not. It's not super long. So the bill before you today is the Maine Smart Buy program that was presented to the committee earlier this session. It came as a result of the committee's enacted resolve, Chapter 64. FAME and Maine State Housing presented to the committee on a program that they called the Maine Smart Buy program, which is to help individuals in Maine who have student debt purchase a home. And as a part of the purchase, which is part of the first time home buyers program, they would also be able to reduce their student debt. This is a committee bill that the committee requested to have reported out and referred back to the committee for consideration. The bill before you does not lay out the program specifics, as Maine State Housing Authority, who would administer the program, has the authority to do the program without statutory language, but they did need funding. So the bill before you is requesting it's a one-time request in the amount of $10 million for mortgages and student debt forgiveness for first-time home buyers with existing student loan debt. At the time, representatives from Maine State Housing Authority and FAME were not able to join us, although they had both submitted testimony. Mr. Jorgensen from Maine State Housing did follow up with the public hearing and responded to questions asked by members of the committee by email, and that also was uploaded through the testimony portal as well. So those answers have been provided, although the program itself as proposed was outlined in the report. Just one area of note is in the report. So for the Maine First Time Home Buyers Program, there are both household income limits and purchase price limits, depending on where in the state you live. When the report was created, they were using numbers that were current as of November 1st of 2021. Those amounts, both the household income limits and the purchase price limits, have been updated as of January 14th of this year. And I did put a link in the bill analysis for those updated numbers. In all cases, the limits have been increased. And Mr. Jorgensen and Mr. Norbert from FAME, who would help with the program in a couple of instances, are with us today at the request of the committee to answer any questions the committee has.
Thank you very much, Ms. Olson. Are there any questions for either for Ms. Olson in her testimony? Not testimony, on her analysis. No questions. Are there any questions for requests? The committee at the public hearing have requested Mr. Jorgensen, Mr. Norbert to be available during the work session. And I greatly appreciate them coming. Are there any questions for, they've reported once on this bill. Are there any questions for either Mr. Jorgensen or for Mr. Norbert? Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Given that they're right here, I wondered if either one could come forward and just let me know what the changes were for housing. I can't find that as I'm looking to see what the update was on January 14th.
Also, I have that.
Oh, well, great.
Right at hand, sure. And I can share. I'll just put it on the screen because I know
we can also go ahead and
numbers.
promote. It doesn't look like I have promoting authority. If we can promote Mr. Norbert and Mr. Jorgensen.
Bigger. Is that okay? Is that an okay size? Because I'm just trying to remember how to make this bigger from the screen. Here we go. There we go.
That's
Great.
better. Thank you.
So income limits, so in order to participate in the program, you have to be eligible for the Maine First Time Home Buyers Program as well. And so these are the income limits effective January 14th. Cumberland County, York County, there's some separation depending on where you live. So you can see the communities listed. And your household size is either 1 to 2 individuals or 3 or more. And so these have been updated, I think, by about $10,000-ish dollars from the numbers in the previous report. So these are their current numbers. So this would be your upper limit. So if you make more than this, then you don't qualify for the program. So that's the Portland area or high. I'm not actually sure what the acronym HMF stands for, but I know it's sort of a higher area. And these communities in York County, and then in York, Kittery, and the South Berwick, you have these adjusted numbers, and then the rest of the state here. And then, so that's income. And then there's also a purchase price limit. So the maximum amount that you could spend on the house or the property. And it is broken out by household size, whether it's a 1, 2, 3, or 4 unit. And then again, broken into those different regions. Although I think you'll note that with the exception of all other counties, I believe the numbers are all the same. So it's really one chunk of the state versus all of the other counties. So if you're looking at just a single family home, 404,950 is the upper limit in these areas. And then all other counties, it's 367,580. And I know that Maine State Housing had noted that a large or a significant portion of the state would qualify for the income limits. I don't know what the percentage is exactly, but that it's many are eligible. So. And we have both individuals here who are experts on the program.
Thank you, Mr. Jorgensen, and thank you, Mr. Norbert, for being here. Chair recognizes Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rather than get out my calculator, I figure the two of you already know. So looking at, I'm assuming that those rates are set so that the numbers work, that the amount paid for your mortgage at those dollar rates is not more than 30% of your income. Would I have that right? I'm assuming that's part of the formula as you set these.
Mr. Jorgensen, that sounds like a question for you.
The answer is I don't know. I think people come to the program with different amounts of savings and they put different things into it, just like any other home buyers. The program really, I can find out about whether there's a correlation between the amount of your income versus the amount you can pay. I don't know that. I'm sorry about that. I wish I did, but I can find that out.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Ducharme.
Thank you, Chairman Curry. For Representative Geiger's benefit and also Mr. Jorgensen's benefit, if you take the maximum income allowed of 86,600 in all other counties and the maximum home price allowed, if you finance 97% of that, that gives a person a home purely lodging debt to income ratio of 33%, which is 2% above what the FHA requirement, what the FHA maximum is. They allow 28 to 31%, all in with taxes and insurance. And I'm assuming $500 in taxes and insurance on a monthly basis on a $356,000 house. That's probably light, I would guess. But I'm just wondering. I mean, the income thresholds, having spent 20 years dealing with this, I'm just wondering how those will play out, which is a larger question than this program. But that was the first thing that I looked at, was how does a debt to income ratio fit? So that may be that may be a problem in the structure if you're looking for rural development guarantees to back up and all the rest of that stuff, because you may have an issue there. But that's just a kind of for your information kind of thing. Thank you.
That's a far better answer than I would have been able to give. So thank you.
Representative Bernard.
Thank you very much, Chair Curry. I have two thoughts just to consider here. The first one is when we talk about a home of $367,580, I can tell you that in Aroostook County, that is an exceptional home. It's a great home. I think that we're talking about moving people into homes that are beyond what an average person buys here. I can just tell you that. And so there would be just about virtually no homes that I can think of, or very, very few homes that would not fall under this program. That's the first thing. So we're talking about financing really, really lovely homes here, instead of maybe starter homes or whatever you would call them. The other thing that I'm concerned about is that we're choosing to help people who have an educational debt, but maybe leaving out people who have other type of debts that get them to into a good place to be helping society. In other words, let's just say that someone doesn't have a 4-year degree that they have to pay off, a 2-year degree that they have to pay off, but or maybe it was a 2-year degree, but they don't have much education debt, but they may have equipment debt, I'm going to call it, and they're trying to get a business going. But their equipment debt could be even larger than what someone's education debt is, but they would not qualify for this kind of thing. And it just strikes me that there's winners and losers here. And so I would really, I would be concerned that people who want to contribute to society and want to contribute to our economy in another way that has nothing to do with a 4-year or 2-year, or let's say a 4-year degree, that they're being cut out. So those are my two concerns. Do I have a question in there? I do.
You don't need to have a question. You don't need to have a question. This is the work session, but if you want a question, that's fine.
No, I just bring that up, and I guess I'd like to have those concerns answered or spoken to.
I'm happy to do that. This is an issue that we identified as well. This is one, you'll remember this, we were instructed to create a program that looked like this. And so we did that. And I think, I got a call last week. We were starting to get phone calls actually, because it's got a lot of publicity, it seemed. And we're starting to get phone calls at our office about how to get into the program. And I think I got a call last week by somebody that said, well, I have I have $70,000 in student loan debt. I bought my house in 2015. Can this program help me? It's a great question. I mean, and I think the winners and losers element of this bill is what concerns me the most, what concerns all of us the most. How do you decide who gets it? And those questions are real questions. And I don't think there's any problem. If someone can qualify for this program and get their student debt removed, it's a great thing for them. But I really worry about all the people who can't qualify for it. So I hear your comments, and I think that's a really legitimate concern. I mean, I know there's other student debt alleviation measures that are being considered by the legislature. I think this is a great idea for people who can do it, but I also think there may be other ways of getting at the student debt question.
Chair recognizes Representative Hassenfuss.
Thank you, Senator Curry. I believe that these particular questions were asked at the public hearing of Senator Jackson. To some extent, the answer, is that we're not looking to sort of, decide who's more worthy than another. We're just looking to, put a program together to help for, these people who are struggling to try to find a house, and their student debt is a huge barrier in that. So we're not choosing them over other individuals. And just to the point about the purchasing assets and purchasing equipment, FAME does offer a number of programs to help businesses get up and running It's a totally, different type of debt than student debt. Student debt, you have no asset behind it. There's nothing you can attach a note to, and you have no equity in that other than your potential earnings in your job. For instance, if you're financing a skidder or financing a piece of real estate to put a business on or equipment, you have an asset with that has a value that can have a note. And there are a number of programs that state does currently to help those businesses get started, get running, either through no interest loans or a loan guarantee from Fame. I know Fame offers that, and there's a program there. So this is just one piece of a giant puzzle of a group that we can help, not at the expense of other groups, in addition to groups. And if either Mr. Norbert or Mr. Jorgensen would like to speak on that, please feel free. But that's sort of how I see this bill, is in addition to all these other programs, not sort of as an exclusion to.
I want to recognize that both Mr. Norbert and Mr. Jorgensen have time commitments. And so I want to honor their time. Are there any questions that we have specifically for them? Otherwise, we could get into debate. Chair recognizes Representative Geiger. Do you have a question? I see you, Representative Calamar. I'll get to you next.
I'm assuming that the 357,000 matches what I've read, which is the median price in the state that houses are now selling for. So I'm assuming that's where that number came from. And then I'm just wondering how you go about setting the income housing when Representative Ducharme was so kind enough. I realized you were a banker for years, so I so appreciate your ability to very quickly present that information. How do we set up a program that right from the start, the debt is too high based on income? It doesn't make sense to me, except in places like Representative Bernard was saying, where the median house price is much lower than the statewide one. Then those numbers work. So I'm just a little puzzled that you wouldn't set those two numbers to work based on what banks use, what FHA uses to decide about debt limits.
Yeah, again, I don't know how the department sets its income and price ranges. I mean, I think the issue really is that, for $400,000, you can't buy anything in Portland area right now. I mean, you can't buy a Cape, you can't buy what would traditionally be a traditional starter home. So I think we're trying to bend the rules to a point where we can make it feasible for people. I mean, I think into last year, I believe the average size of the mortgages for this program was around $160,000. But I think we've had a reduction of people being able to do it. So we try to push the numbers in a way that can get them in. I don't know the whole issue around as Representative Ducharme talked about with regard to FHA and those things. I can look into that. I can, the department's just down the hall here. I can ask them about that. I just don't know how they set those things. I think they come around from real estate data that is published, affordability indices that we put together. I think it comes from area median income issues or area median income statistics and the price of a typical price of a typical house. I mean, that's sort of it's a very vague answer, and I apologize for that. But I can find out more. I will get you more by the end of today. I will get you some more information that I can send to you about how our prices are set and how our program is set up.
And I'd like to remind committee members, this is based on a different program. This is a funding, but this bill is around funding. We have not designed a program here, so it's a funding to develop a program. Chair recognizes Representative Calamar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm not sure if this question is for Mr. Jorgensen or Mr. Norbert. I had asked this at the public hearing and have looked around a little bit and haven't found a satisfactory answer So the program, the way it's written for us, is really just giving the allotment amount. But in designing the program, the question that I was wondering about is, does the person have to have completed a degree? They have college debt. And so I used myself as an example. I'm still trying, I have one class left in my bachelor's degree. I have over $50,000 in debt. But would I qualify? I have an associate's degree, so I do have a degree, but I don't have my bachelor's degree, which is where a bulk of my debt came from. And so I'm just, would somebody like me qualify for the program, or do I have to finish my degree first?
I'll take that if you want. This is something that was on my my sheet that I sent around. And our thinking is really, as we envision it, the program would serve buyers with student debt, regardless of degree status. I think that obviously getting a college degree is a critical thing if you're trying to, if you got to finish it, because there's almost nothing less valuable than a 3/4 degree. But I think that people without degrees who have student debt are a particularly challenged population. And I think they shouldn't be punished. So at least as we set the program up, and we did outline all of that in that report we provided for you in terms of our in terms of how the program would actually work. But we didn't specify that. But I think that's our sense, is that we don't want to penalize people who have student debt. We're not going to try to, get into the middle of that. I don't think.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Chair recognizes Representative Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric, good morning. How are you?
Good to see you very much. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Things good down in Portland, down the road a piece?
They're good.
Okay.
A little bit of snow.
I'll leave it to you to give them good oversight. To Representative Geiger's question, and I hope I'm dovetailing it right, but if we look back to about, I'd say 2010, when the loaning really went kind of, pardon the phrase, hog wild, and we had a lot of people approved that got way out over their head. Now, is there any way, excuse my froggy throat here, is there any way that in trying to develop something that is helpful, that we actually will be encouraging?
You're right there.
Sorry,
someone just popped their head in my office. Is trying to get me, but that's all right.
I don't want to hold you up now. Is there any way we are, without realizing, are we encouraging some folks to get into ownership, but actually get way out over their skis to be able to maintain what they set themselves up for?
Well, I would say that our underwriting is it doesn't have that. That hasn't proven to be a condition, or that hasn't proven to happen. We actually monitor any foreclosures and things very, very carefully, and we've not seen this is a particular population that is determined to own a house, and they provide personal savings, and they go through a very rigorous process, as well as a process on homeownership. One of the things our program requires is you take a class on homeownership, and before you start the buying process. And so I think there are some safeguards in place to prevent that from happening. And then, as you know, the banks have really, we never did any subprime lending that I know about. And the banks have really cracked down on that. And we work with, you would get your loan, you get your first home loan from us through a place like Bangor Savings or any other bank that offers the program. We end up buying the mortgages from those banks after they're sold. So the underwriting process is a standard one, but I think there are things in place to prevent people from getting way out over their skis, as you say.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Please.
So that you'll understand why I even looked backward in the lens when Representative Bernard mentioned Caribou and the severe differential in the market. And so that's what made me wonder if young people seeing the opportunity to really buy up was the factor there. So
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, we take that whole issue very seriously. I mean, it's this balance between trying to deal with an overheated real estate market and trying to get people into homes, which of course is critical for freeing up apartments and getting people into the American dream and all those things. So it's a challenge, but we have really found very much that our program doesn't have a great level of, there's very few defaults in this program, and there's a lot of counseling and other things that go with it.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any more questions for either Mr. Norbert or Mr. Jorgensen? Otherwise, I'll ask them to shift over to the attendee list. Representative Hassenfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jorgensen, I can't remember if I asked you last time or not. I think I might have, but I'm not sure if you know how many applications for first home buyer are turned down because individuals have too much student debt and can't, make that income to debt ratio appropriate there.
I don't know specifics on that, just because we have the program is handled by so many different banks around the state. And I'm not sure what the how much information we get on loans that are declined. And I can look into that.
Seeing no other questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Norbert. Sorry, Mr. Norbert, we didn't have any questions. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us this morning. So, thank you. Ms. Reed, if you could shift Mr. Norbert, Mr. Jorgensen over to the attendee list. I want to share, I'm in support of this program. One of the reasons why, as I think most of you know, that I've been working in higher education since 1988. And, when I started, when I went to college, the message was, get a degree, any cost is going to have a return on investment. And that message has dramatically changed over the years, where I'm working very closely with students to look at what their income is going to be after their degree, and making sure that it fits within standards. They're not getting out over their skis on a degree also, in terms of income, potential income for relative to the cost of their schooling. The other thing I've really noticed is the degree of adults continuing school. So our old formulas were based on college debt being from 18 to 22, and then you had some years of saving, and then you bought a house at 30. And we've got college debt. We've got, so many adult students going to school and retraining and re-education and incurring that debt at 40 and 45 and 50, where that just kind of the old formulas of what debt happens in one's life have kind of all got disrupted. So it might not even be a ton of debt, but it's at the wrong time in their life when they need to be buying a home or saving for retirement. So for this reason, I'm excited. I was especially excited to see and hear the answer regarding not needing to have a degree completed, because so many students, like I said, those adult students, they're doing it at the same time, raising the kids, paying for school, paying for and buying and housing and rent and all of that stuff all at the same time. And so that's why I'm in support of it. Chair recognizes Representative Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your point of view, even though I disagree with it. I think it's important to remember that government's only source of revenue is taxation. Government cannot give something to someone without first taking it from someone else. I mean, that's why this bill picks winners and losers. That's not right, and it's not government's job. That's why I'll be voting no today, and I think this bill should be ought not to pass. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Geiger.
Thank you. Representative Andrews, your views are very consistent and very different than my own. I grew up with dad in the Air Force, And I learned about progressive government and the way it can change lives when he died in active military service. Our family maintained a middle-class lifestyle because we had VA benefits, comes from taxpayers. We had Social Security, comes from taxpayers. I went to school, as did my mother, on VA loans, come from taxpayers. In return, we are both educated people who provide taxes every year to both the federal and state government. It changed our lives, it changes other people's lives. And that's really what we're talking about here. We're talking about the ability to change the trajectory of people who through good faith, developed very high student loans at a time when the world was telling them that getting that degree was what mattered, going to school is what mattered, it didn't matter what you did. We've done them a disservice. And even if they're picking the right degree, the costs have skyrocketed for both housing and schooling. So if Maine is serious about keeping and attracting young people, a workforce, which we are in critical danger of, we've passed the point of crisis, then I think programs like this, yes, there are some winners in this program, just as there are winners in every program. We know that high student debt is a huge issue for many Mainers. This is helping them and also helping them to put roots on the ground. Representative Bernard, I quickly looked at real estate in your county, and you're absolutely right. This will be a boom for anyone who is young and makes a decent income and wants to live in Aroostook County. They will be able to find plenty of houses that look like nice quality houses. So rather than saying we are being too generous, I think that 357 is what I've read to be the state median income. Instead, you can look at it as Aroostook County, which definitely and desperately needs young working class people. You've just given them a huge invitation to put roots down. And when people buy houses, they're putting roots down, and we want to encourage that in Maine. So I will be voting yes for this. I'm also excited that we recently got yesterday the treasurer's report. We have another $411 million of surplus. This is an opportunity to fund a one-time program like this with one-time funding that will make a difference for young Maine lives to really settle here.
Chair recognizes Representative Collmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I apologize, I have to keep turning my video off, but if I don't, I'll lose you guys. I do support the intent of this bill. As I've said multiple times, I am in great amounts of debt because of student loans. But what concerns me is that we're trying to triage instead of trying to do preventative maintenance. And when I look at $10 million and I think of what that could do to support students who are entering or who are still in college right now, accruing this debt so that they can try to finish their degrees, whether they're traditional or non-traditional students like myself. And I worry about what it looks like for my son, who will be entering the college world very soon. He's a junior. And wouldn't it be better for us to take that $10 million and start reducing the debt for Maine students, encouraging them to come to school here? Because, I mean, we're looking at a college in North Dakota right now. It's a university. They are the third least expensive university in the United States. My son is looking at leaving the state of Maine because of college costs, not because of whether or not he can buy a home, but because it's less expensive. And I work at the University of Maine, so he gets a 50% tuition waiver, and it will still be less expensive for him to go to North Dakota. So I think that that's where we should be looking at using money like this. And I know the governor has said that she plans on giving another amount of money to the college, but is it really enough? Can't we give them more so that we can make sure our kids aren't doing this kind of debt burden, and then they can buy houses? And the other thing is, we can fund a program like this, but we don't have the houses to fill. I've got citizens in my town right now who are trying to get into assisted living facilities because they have to have the support. and they can't afford to go into the assisted living because they were smart about getting their retirement stuff together. And it's going to cost them $7,800 a month to live in a memory facility that they cannot afford. Couldn't that money be there for them? And then that opens up a house because they would be leaving their home that they've paid for all of their lives. So I don't feel we're looking at the right place to use this money. Again, I support the intent. I'd like to see student debt go down. I want to see more people move to Maine. I don't know that this is the way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Olson, does this have a formal fiscal note on it yet?
It does not have a formal fiscal note, although the bill is, the bill just is a request for $10 million of funding.
Okay, so it would eventually come back with one?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion ought to pass as amended with the fiscal note.
Is there a second? Chair, there's a second. Further discussion? Chair recognizes Representative Senator Searway.
Thank you. I was just going to say that, you know, we're spending dollars on this and it only benefits 250 people. And when we can, even it costs $8 million just to keep the University of Maine at a balanced budget from going up. I think that we can actually better spend this money and not have winners and losers, but help all, you know, in a fashion that would benefit everybody. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Hassenfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly appreciate what we just heard from Representative Collmore and Searway. I do think that there's a lot that can be done to make college more affordable and must be done to make college more affordable. It's a real problem for a lot of people. And you know, it's something that I feel is incumbent upon government to do. I mean, we provide free education K through 12, but as we know, education doesn't stop at high school. And the government, in my view, should have a responsibility to continue fostering education. Therefore, and I think we're doing that. We're taking baby steps, but we're getting there. The problem, however, is there's a lot of people who've already gone through and paid for their education without some of the benefits that are coming down the pipeline, and this bill will help them, so that they're not left out. It says, yes, like you paid, the full cost of school. You didn't benefit from some of the new tuition programs that are coming through, but you know what? Here's something that we can at least offer you to help pay that tuition debt that was, in my opinion, too much in the first. And so that's why I'll support this, and then it'll be part of the appropriations, and we can work out how much funding and how best to use it in the entire package of student debt relief.
Chair recognizes Representative Bernard.
Thank you very much, Chair Curry. I think that we have smartly recognized the problem. The problem is the cost of education. This bill doesn't address the cost of education. It addresses the result, the problem, that trying to put money at, as Senator Searway said, and as Representative Collmore said, we're trying to put some money on top of the problem, but we've identified it. So why don't we try to unravel that problem, the problem of higher education, not the problem of how much it costs to buy a house or to buy a car or to buy whatever is next. Of course, it's going to be difficult for anyone with a college debt to do any of those things. So in order to get at the root of it, we've got to talk about the problem the problem being the cost of higher education. It is true that if we put $8 million, not 10, but $8 million into the University of Maine system, they can hold tuition flat. That may not be the end all be all, but it's less expensive than what we're discussing now, and it would get at the problem. And that's what I want to talk about. Let's discuss what the problem is and try to come up with different avenues to either curtail it or bring it down. So that's what I'm more interested in talking about, because it does help more people than just a few. 250, I guess.
Thank you, Representative Bernard. I want to just make a correction on that 250. I think that was based on an early model of the program. But this is a $10 million budget, which has would be able to go vastly further than 250 people. So because it's an appropriations, they have a much greater ability to do this. I think 250 might have been based on 100 or $1 million model when they gave us a sample. So I just want to be clear on that. The model would impact far more than 250 people. Sounds like we are done with the debate. Seeing no other hands, I will ask the committee clerk to call the roll.
Representative Geiger.
Yes.
Representative Geiger, yes. Representative Andrews.
No.
Representative Andrews, no. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Collmore.
No.
Representative Collmore, no. Senator Rafferty is absent. Senator Searway.
No.
Senator Searway, no. Representative Ducharme.
No.
Representative Ducharme, no. Representative Austin.
No.
Representative Austin, no. Representative Hassenfuss.
Yes.
Representative Hassenfuss, yes. Representative Larochelle.
Yes.
Representative Larochelle, yes. Representative Bernard.
No.
Representative Bernard, no. Representative Roberts.
Yes.
Representative Roberts, yes. Senator Curry.
Yes.
Senator Curry, yes.
Is that, I want to make sure I got the count with 6 voting in favor and 6 voting against and 1 absent?
Yeah.
Okay. So 1 report is going to be ought to pass as amended. And for those voting in the negative, what is your report? Senator Searway? Is that just ought not to pass? Was your
Can
minority
you run it by
report,
me again, what you was saying?
was your report ought not to pass?
Ought not to pass, correct.
Ought not to pass. I'm saying head shake. Anyone who voted no, have any other report? Is that enough, Ms. Olson? Okay. So with 6 ought to pass, 6 ought not to pass, and 1 absent, and Senator Rafferty has, I think, till Monday at noon in order to register his vote. And with that, if I had a gavel, I would pound it and say the work session on LD 1978 is closed. With that, we'll open up the work session on LD 1977, and I understand that the sponsor has a motion to make.
Not quite the sponsor.
Not the sponsor, sorry.
Before we get too far into this, having gotten information from Ms. Olson, reading the bill analysis, it's clear that what this bill went in as is not complete. It is not ready to go. It would require a significant amount of work to get it to a place that still might not be where some of us would like it to be. in the very short period of time that we have ahead of us in order to vote everything out by the end of next week. That being said, I do want to recognize that this is an important issue that is still on our radar and does still continue to be worked on. That being said, I'd like to move ought not to pass on LD 1977.
Is there a second? Second, Senator Searway. Any discussion? Senator, Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be voting ought not to pass, but I do continue to believe this is a critical issue, that we're hearing more and more cases of people being fraudulently cheated of their hard-earned income. The AG is concerned about it. He's hearing more and more complaints. So I am hopeful that we will return next year with what I hope would be a licensing bill for general contractors like every other person who touches your house. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, will the committee clerk call the roll?
Representative Geiger,
I just want to be clear, I am voting yes, ought not to pass, correct?
yes.
Thank you.
Representative Andrews,
Yes is for ought not to pass, correct?
Yes.
Then yes. Thank you.
Representative Pepworth,
Yes.
Representative Collmore,
Yes.
Senator Rafferty's absent, Senator Searway,
Yes.
Representative Ducharme,
Yes.
Representative Austin,
Oh, yes.
Representative Hassenfuss,
Yes.
Representative Learshell,
Yes.
Representative Bernard,
Yes.
Representative Roberts,
Yes.
Senator Curry.
Yes. With a unanimous vote of those present, the committee report will be ought to pass as amended. Ought not to pass. The committee report will be ought not to pass. And that will close the work session on LD 1977. We'll now open up the work session on LD 1694. And I understand there's been some work on amendments. And so I will reach out to I will call on Representative Hassenfuss to introduce the amendment. And then we might go to, I understand Ms. Olson has some materials that she might share with us. Representative Hassenfuss.
Yes, and I believe that everybody has received a copy of the amendment that I worked with Ms. Olson on. And in addition to that, there's also an amendment that Representative Ducharme and Representative Geiger were working on. And I would like to move that ought to pass as amended with my amendment incorporating Representative Geiger's amendment into that. And Ms. Olson, if you could.
1 second, can we get a second on that? Second. Okay.
And Ms.
So we
Olson,
have
if
a
you could just walk us through the text and maybe just where the two amendments, work in conjunction with one another so that we can see it on screen if anybody has any questions. But I'm comfortable with amendments and where they are. I believe that we addressed all of the questions raised in our last work session. And I think it's in a good spot to vote it ought to pass.
Ms. Olson, can you screen share and share the amendments?
Yes, I can. Okay, so for the sake of having both of them together, they're side by side. I know that impacts the size, so hopefully it still works. So I did send both out. They're both also in the testimony portal. So you could think of, so we have Representative Hassenfuss's over here on the left and Representative Geiger's, and you could think about Representative Geiger's amendment is amending Representative Hassenfuss's amendment. So in terms of Representative Hassenfuss's amendment, the changes that were made this is version 2. So we had a previous one at the last work session that was in a sort of a very draft form. The committee discussed it. Suggestions were made. Representative Hassenfuss accepted many of those suggestions, and they were incorporated, and the language was finalized. And that's what you see here. And I did send this out, I hope, with enough advance notice for people to be able to read through it. And then we have Representative Geiger's proposed amendments. And so the first proposed amendment would be to add, so I don't want to confuse people by how I explain the language of inserting, because what we're really doing is dealing with just these amendments right now. So we're going to insert this new section into the bill, which is in fact very similar, almost exactly the same, but with some changes to the findings and declaration of necessity section from the original bill that was proposed. There were a few changes, very minor, mostly to conform with the language that's in the rest of the bill. For example, repurposed here for another use into productive use. I might actually, I don't know why I highlighted that. Looks like I might need to fix the sentence there, but and then there was an addition of a number 5, which is that municipalities, counties, and unorganized territories have properties that they cannot restore to productive use. So reusing this term again that we see over here in the purpose section that was asked for by the committee and was incorporated into that amendment due to a variety of technical or financial issues, and then explaining that here. And then it repeats the use of productive use and the terminology around the types of properties, blighted, abandoned, environmentally hazardous, functionally obsolete, including those that have become municipally owned through a municipal foreclosure process. So it is adding that section back in here between the title and the establishment. Okay, pausing if there were questions. And then the next change would come into the phrasing around eligible properties. So again, for discussion, so the change here, it's highlighted in yellow. So this is a change being made to Representative Hassenfuss's amendment. So using the term may acquire instead of the may not. So may acquire property under this agreement, which may include. So it removes the determination factor for the redevelopment authority. And by saying may acquire, which may include, it means all of the properties that are listed here in Representative Hassenfuss's amendment: blighted property, abandoned property, property designated as an uncontrolled hazardous substance site, functionally obsolete property, and the addition of E, property a municipality or county has determined is not within the municipality's or county's capacity to redevelop. And I do know there is a typo, has requested the assistance of the redevelopment authority. So this is a very broad universe, really any property identified by municipalities or counties, as well as the ones listed above. But because now it's saying may acquire these properties, which may include, it could include any other type of property that isn't listed as well. It's just specifically listing these. But it's a very open universe to the types of properties, although it is limited by the types of agreements. So it's only a municipality or county who can enter into an agreement to transfer property. So again, the impetus for the property going from the municipality or county to the state level land bank has to come from the municipality. So that's that change in section 5155. And then under the powers and duties section, under the agreements with public entities, the addition of the phrase, public entities may include municipal or regionally organized land banks. So it goes here. And then the final change is at the very end of the bill. This is something we had discussed. So it has removed all mention of the liability around or oil storage facilities or uncontrolled hazardous substance sites. In Representative Hassenfuss's amendment, he proposed requesting the Redevelopment Land Bank Authority to research and report on the issues that may be related to liability around those properties. And Representative Geiger is completely removing the statutory requirement for them to do that. Not to say that they won't look into it, just that it's not required as a part of the bill. I think I covered everything, but I'll look to both Representative Geiger and Representative Hassenfuss, who have put forward these two amendments, to make sure that I didn't miss something, or if they would like to explain other elements or choices.
Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to refer to Representative Ducharme and give him credit. Most of the work in this has my name under the amendment, but it was really Representative Ducharme who worked out a lot of the language. So I want to defer to him and see if there's anything I missed in this when I sent it to Ms. Olson or anything he would add. Thank you.
Representative Ducharme.
Thank you, Representative Senator Curry and Representative Geiger. I haven't looked at it in detail. I've kind of scanned through it this morning. I have two committees going, but based on my conversations with Representative Geiger, I think we've addressed all of what I perceive to be the home rule concerns, because I think that that's been my concern from the get-go, is that we don't do anything in this authority that abrogates home rule for the municipalities, because that's a very important principle in the state of Maine. And so I think those are the way, that's what we've been trying to work through, is to make sure that this was kind of an opt-in for the municipalities. One of the things that I don't think it was highlighted as a change, but I think the committee that was there, the development committee or whatever, we changed the name of that to the Land Bank Advisory Committee or something like that. And just that simple name change kind of changes the dynamic of that by making it more of an advisory role as opposed to a prescriptive role for the municipalities. They have the ability to make to set up kind of rules and best practices, but if the municipality doesn't choose to adopt them, that's totally their call. And I think that that's where we need to be if we're going to do something like this. So I did want to highlight that, for the rest of the folks, that that was an important change. And by making it advisory, it comes under Title V, I think it is, or whatever that rule is as far as paying them and so forth. And I did check into that, and that looks reasonable to me. So I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just jump in. I tried to highlight the things that Representative Ducharme was mentioning. So I did not, you're right, you're correct. I just went over the differences between the two versions, but I did not address the changes that were incorporated into Representative Hassenfuss's bill. But one of them was to change the title. This is fully incorporated as an advisory committee under Title V, section 12,004-I, subsection 6J. It does lay out the membership as well as the duties, but you'll note, as was mentioned, the phrasing is changed to develop and maintain best practices. And by request was added under the duties by the state by utilizing the best practices, but it's not a requirement. And there are other incorporated elements. I'm happy to go over them as well if there are questions about them under Representative Hassenfuss's amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Olson. I know we discussed them at length at the last work session, and so I don't feel the need for you to walk us through it, but if members have questions directly for you, then we'll be open to that. Representative Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rachel, can you go down to, I think it's section 5 on the left-hand side of the screen. It's the very last.
So
Can you do that one again? It was a question that popped up
Yeah.
in my head, but
so in Representative Hassenfuss's amendment, he has this included. Representative Geiger's amendment recommends just striking this completely, which I believe Representative Hassenfuss was saying he was fine with. He's nodding. So this would actually not be included if the committee moved forward with the motion on the table.
can you just explain, there was something that I don't remember now. I can't read it. So can you just say what it did again, just one more
Yep.
time? Briefly? And I think
So,
it's a question thought.
Yep. So in the very original bill, I know we've seen a number of versions of this. In the very original bill, there were 2 sections that added the state level land bank in as a specific call out as it related to the limited liability around oil storage facilities and sites designated as uncontrolled hazardous substance sites. The original language in the bill didn't really address the issue because the state level land bank would be considered the state and as it was already covered. But it was identified by stakeholders when I met with them per the committee's request that there are some issues around these types of properties, and particularly around the liability that could be assumed by the municipality if they acquired the property. And we discussed that was an issue that's really not clear right now, particularly as it relates to federal law, which would preempt any state law. And so one way to have tackled that issue to try to address it would have been to direct this newly formed agency to actually look into it and come back with any suggested needed legislation. I know that there were discussions with the sponsor and the stakeholders around that, and I think it was acknowledged that it might not be necessary to actually prescribe that action to them in statute. So the recommendation from Representative Geiger is just to remove it altogether.
So to not address it, where does that leave the responsibility? On the municipality? If it's a questionable hazardous waste site?
So in no case was anything actually changed in any version of the language that we've seen. Nothing was actually being changed about the liability. And so where it leads us is still a question about how best to deal with those types of properties. And if there would be any way that the state could help to change through state legislation, the question of liability. But ultimately, these are related to the CERCLA laws related to Superfund sites. So federal preemption would overrule any changes at the state level that weren't in line with the federal guidance. So it doesn't change anything. And municipalities, according to the law, are a political subdivision of the state and can qualify for that limited liability, but there are many aspects of the CERCLA laws that are muddy when it comes to how a property might be acquired. But the main point was that the language in the original bill didn't address the concerns that were actually presented by municipalities, and we don't really have a good answer for how to address those concerns yet. So the committee really has, the 2 choices in front of you are to specifically tell the redevelopment land bank to go and look at the issue and come back with a report on that and possible answers, or to not do it and just acknowledge that it is something that they'll probably look into on their own anyway. And they have the power to bring back suggested legislation as a state agency. So there's nothing that would prohibit them from addressing this down the road as a state agency.
So just to clarify, I want to make sure I understand this, Ms. Olson. So the dropping it is the assumption that if they think they need legislation, they'll come back.
Yes.
And we don't need to tell them to do it. Okay.
Yes. And Representative Geiger, who's whose amendment it is can speak to that, but that was my understanding.
Representative Geiger?
Yes, the recommendation to just strike that came in conversation and in Ms. Olson's original conversation about liability, recognizing that the towns have been afraid to assume ownership of these hazardous waste sites because they do not want to assume any liability. And the reason for a state land bank is so that as a state entity, they can take ownership at the request of the municipalities for these hazardous sites and therefore make sure that the town is not on the hook for it. Now, what Ms. Olson is saying is it's unclear that the state's completely off the hook for them if the land bank owns them, but that is work that the land bank can come back to us to clarify because the law is not clear. Do I have that right, Ms. Olson?
Yes, yeah. So and that was, I think that's one of the important points about the state level land bank is that they are perhaps in a better position to assume the greater risk related to these types of properties, and that they'll have the resources and essentially time and resources to be able to more thoroughly look at this issue
Okay.
than a
thank you.
municipality.
Thank you.
Ms. Olson? Oh,
Yes.
Go ahead, Representative Austin.
Well, I thank you for that. That helps clear that up. And when you're ready, I just have one other, I can wait, but it's one more question on the.
Do you want the screen up or for it to
No,
come down?
You can take it down.
Let's go ahead and take the screen down for a moment so we can see each other. Representative Austin.
When we say that the town has to accept this, I think I'm reading it correctly, that this means specifically the council or the select people. And my concern is that some of these things can be fairly large and significant, and I would rather see the citizenry have to give support or withhold support on some of these initiatives. That's my concern.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a similar thought to Representative Austin. I'd hate to see select boards and councils get, politicized by people running for their own self-interest. And I think this kind of question would be perfect for a warrant article at town meeting. Do you want to enter into a contract with the state land bank to do X, Y, Z? The legislative body, which is the town, would vote on it. I think that kind of gets input from everybody and not just your executive decision makers. So I don't know if there's language we can change to make that happen or not, but I would tend to agree with Representative Austin.
Representative Andrews, I'll just share my concern on that would be the practicality of it, as projects, that projects would get put off.
You could call a special town meeting if the project is imminent. I think even a public hearing on it would be great to get townsfolk's input. And I'm not sure if that would happen if it's just something that can be checked off on a box during a select board meeting that nobody goes to. That's my concern. I'd like to get as many people involved that are stakeholders within a town or a community to get all their points of view. It's the way I see it.
Representative Geiger. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Representative Geiger.
I cannot speak to what the current law is about towns and when they decide something goes on a warrant or not. But as a city councilor for 6 years, the city council process would not take this, and I would not want it to go every time the city tried to deal with a blighted or abandoned building, that they had to go out and do what would be a special election, because we don't have a town warrant process. Instead, how city government works, or at least the city of Rockland, is anything that the city council is going to vote on has at least 2 or 3 work hearings. If there's question or concerns, it then goes to workshop, and it happens over a period of 2 to 3 months, so that there is plenty of opportunity for the public to weigh in on something like this. So I I won't speak to whether it ought to be on a town warrant. I think that's already settled law about what goes on a town warrant or not. And I don't know enough about town government to say, but city government has a process, and that process should continue to be followed.
Chair recognizes Representative Ducharme.
Thank you, Chairman Curry. I think the language that Representative Andrews proposes is very similar to something that we had discussed in our conversations, Representative Geiger, about asking the legislative body of the particular municipality to have approval on it. And in the case of the city of Rockland or the city of Augusta, city of Portland, Lewiston, you name the city, those folks are charged by their municipality with being the legislative body of that town, or of that political subdivision, if you will. And in the cases of a town where you have a town meeting form of government with the town manager and board of selectmen, historically, the town meeting is the legislative body. To that end, I reached out to our town manager here in Madison and talked with him about it and said, okay, if this land bank thing goes through and we say that has to come before the town, what do we do? And he said, well, what we do is, he said, we go to the town meeting, we get authority to establish our own municipal land bank and charge that land bank with handling these properties. And so we do it one time, we get the approval of the voters to do this, and then we move forward. And everything that the land bank does going forward has been approved tacitly by the voters by virtue of their approval of the land bank. So I think that the one-offs may be problematic, but then again, you have your ability to call a special town meeting if it's a critical thing. And in most cases, these properties have been sitting around for a long time. So the municipal authorities could clearly bring this before a town meeting because a lot of these have been sitting 2, 3, 4 years. So I think that adding in language saying that the municipal governing body can authorize this, I think won't hurt anybody. So that's my opinion.
Chair recognizes Representative Collmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to kind of echo Representative Geiger and Representative Ducharme, I've been on my town council. I've seen the processes that happen, at least in my size town. We're much smaller than Rockland. But we are larger than Detroit, who I also represent, and they only have a one time a year town meeting. But just like when you're dealing with properties of this nature in our town, there is such a huge process that you're required by already existing statutes to go through that requires public input before you can get even to the point where you would take it and move it to the next level. I mean, we've got tax acquired properties here in our town that we can't, even though we've put them up for auction 3 times, we haven't been able to sell them because there are trees growing up through the middle of them. And so, but we had to, by state law, do 3 separate times to prove that we couldn't sell it before we were allowed to write it off. And so there's a lot in place already through statutes, I think, that protects from the concerns that are being brought forward by Representative Andrews and Representative Austin, because we already have so much in place that protects that. And we have to remember that if the citizens don't like what their selectmen and councilors are doing, they can vote them off and put somebody else up to help them fix the issues that might be up.
Is the committee ready for the vote? Ms. Reed, will you call Representative Andrews?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say I'm voting no on this and why. I think it's a very big bill. I think we need a divided report just so that everybody from each community that's representative or senator can have time to digest this, talk about it with their people, and discuss it in their caucus. It's a very large bill, so I'll be voting no for a divided report.
Thank you. Ms. Reed, will you call the roll?
Yes. Before I do that, who seconded the motion?
Let's see. We had a motion, Representative Geiger.
If I may, can I just, before we take the vote, so the motion, because we've had a lot of discussion, the motion is ought to pass as amended, combining Representative Hassenfuss's version 2 amendment and Representative Geiger's amendments.
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, Representative Geiger?
Yes.
Representative Geiger, yes. Representative Andrews?
No.
Representative Pebworth?
Yes.
Representative Collmore?
Yes.
Senator Rafferty's absent. Senator Searway?
Yes.
Representative Ducharme?
If I vote yes, is it subject to final language review? Then I'll vote yes.
We'll have language review.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Representative Austin?
Same as Ducharme, yes. With
Representative
review.
Bernard is absent. Representative Hassenfuss?
Yes.
Representative Larochelle?
Yes.
Representative Roberts?
Yes.
Senator Curry?
Yes. How many was that in favor? I had 1 no, 2 absent.
10 in favor, 1 no, and 2 absent.
Great, thank you. And so the majority report will be ought to pass as amended. Representative Andrews, were you ought not to pass?
Keep it simple, that's fine.
Okay, excellent. And with that, we'll close the work session on LD 1694, and that concludes the work sessions for the scheduled work sessions. Ms. Olson, do you have any language review that we need to address now?
I do not. I'll make the corrections or the additions to the DECD GEA letter later today and send that out for everybody with I'm going to try to do a rapid turnaround so I can mail it out on Friday. So please pay attention to your emails.
So is it going to be unless you reach back to me, this is good? Okay.
Yes, it's going to be that kind of email. So please pay attention to your emails. But I will give you until at least the middle of the day Friday. So
thank you.
Like 24 hours.
So I want to give everyone a heads up. This is not that I expect it to happen, but just know that we are pushing a deadline of March 11th from the presiding officers to get bills voted out of committee. If by chance we get a bill that's referred to us on Wednesday, we have Thursday and Friday to work it. And so just be aware of that. I have no foreknowledge of anything coming our way, but anything can happen. So just, so we might end up having a Friday thing. Just be ready. Yeah.
That was my question, Mr. Chair. So if we got something referred, we would not meet on Thursday, we'd meet on a Friday.
No, we would continue to meet on Thursday. We would have Thursday, but we might have to, we have permission to, so we have 2 things. We have our scheduled Thursday time. We have permission to schedule work sessions at any point, and we have the charge to have all of our bills reported out by March 11th. So I'm just aware of that dynamic. I wanted to give everyone a heads up that if we get anything referred, like I said, I'm not aware of anything, but things can happen. So
are we still open for Tuesday? I mean,
we're still doing Tuesday. I think we have some appointments on Tuesday as well. And then work session. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
Yeah, that's correct. On Tuesday, we have a work session scheduled. And on Thursday, I believe we have nominations and work sessions already scheduled. Should anything come to us on Wednesday during session, we would be adding to the calendar, most likely for Thursday and Friday.
All right. I'll accept the motion. Representative Geiger.
So I just want to be clear, just so I'm a chemotherapy nurse. I work Mondays and Fridays. So the more heads up I get, the more I can let my department, which is very small, there are only 4 of us, make plans. They require 2 chemo nurses on the unit in order to give chemo. So it sounds like we won't know until Wednesday. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything, but right, we won't know our schedule till Wednesday, and I just seeing if we happen to get anything, then we might have to use that Friday. But
All right, so I'll
just-
give them a heads up now.
all this is fair warning that I'm just seeing what the mandates are,
Yeah, I
what the
appreciate it.
schedules are, looking forward. I want to make sure people know about the March 11th deadline. Representative Roberts, Chair Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just, I think you and I have already had this discussion too, but when we got the report back on LD 149 and there were changes that the department wanted to make, I believe that is going in as a governor's bill. So it's just better when we see that. So that will be coming our way.
Right. So we have permission to do an immediate public hearing. There's no, this pretty common practice at the end of a session on these types of bills. We also have the ability to go right into work sessions, especially if they're technical things, so we have all that flexibility. So, but we also have the flexibility of Friday. I wanted to make sure you knew that. So we're going to I'll try real hard to keep us on Tuesdays and Tuesday and Thursday, but if we have to, we have Friday. Representative Hassel, please.
What are the bills we have left?
I couldn't really address that right now. I mean, they're all on the calendar. What we have left is all on the calendar.
Okay, and then maybe something coming, but we're not aware of anything else.
That's it. Just fair warning on that. I'm not aware of any. If the governor's bill comes to us, then we'll work it. Thank you all. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Excellent.